Cancel.
Schweezy.
Pretty bold of you little fucks to assume that I'm not God.
I want to talk about Echo. Echo dropped on Disney Plus and Hulu on Tuesday of last week. And I watched all of it because I had snow days. Like that, Marvel's really trying hard when they're releasing every episode of a series in one day on a Tuesday. But also, though, no, I finished Echo. And I gotta say, I really do like it. Like, I like this show. I like Echo as a character. Alaqua Cox, fantastic portrayal of Maya Lopez. Because I definitely think she was. And then, like, her little cousin, I think it was a little cousin or niece or something related to her. That's Little Maya. So, Little Maya from the Hawkeye series and then Little Maya from this show are actually related to Alaqua Cox. So that was really cool because we're like, that is way too good a cast. We were all like, that is way too good a casting. And we were right. It was too good because they are related. And that's okay. But no, I want to talk about Echo. And I think about it like Echo, as a little girl clone in The Bad Batch would say. My name is Echo. I can't speak lady Australian. I can only speak man Australian. Hello, mate. But anyways, though, good story, but I don't think it's anything you haven't seen before. So let's talk about it. And let's go into it. Episode 1, Chafa. So every episode is named after one of Maya's ancestors. She is it's a CH. Let me find my notes. Let me see. Where what race it's This is something you need to do before you press the record button on a podcast. Maya's tribe, but they her native tribe. Choctaw. That's the word. I'm like Choctaw. There we go. No, it's really interesting. They definitely in this show they I guess they consulted with the Choctaw people and just made sure let's make sure normal people are like, let's make sure we don't make something super offensive, because I don't think anyone on this show was like, most people, we think about cancel culture and shit like that, but at the end of the day, it's like, I don't think anyone working on the Echo series was like, let's intentionally offend the Choctaw Nation. Everyone on the set was probably just like, I hope we do stuff that does not offend this culture because, it's one thing to hire Choctaw actors and shit like that, but at the same time, it's like if you're working on a movie set, you can't just be like, I need everyone to be white or else I can't do this. I'm like, you're going to get a couple races, and some people are like, oh, the races piss me off. At the end of the day, though, I'm like, you're making something. It's just like, I don't think you're worried. So basically, the story of Maya Lopez is basically she survives a car accident, and that was basically her dad was a criminal, and basically some other criminals who were just like, let's kill this guy. Basically, they cut the brakes on the wrong car, and then his mom dies, and so they just did something even worse, shit like that. And it also gave us reasons as to why Alaqua Cox, the actress, has a prosthetic foot because she does in real life. I don't know the story behind it, so don't be like, I don't know, but it was explaining why she as an adult has it. Just the character in the comics didn't have a fake leg, but the actress does. She's the closest thing we can get. And you're like, I guess we'll ride into the story. It's not a big deal. It's like, okay. It's just like, why does she have a prosthetic foot? Here's why. A glass from a car window impaled her foot that way, and it was pretty gruesome. They made sure to let this be TVMA, and honestly, I don't know how many people I know really care to see all the bloody gore and shit like that, but I do like the TVMA ratings for a creativity standpoint, because like I think, like, oh, there's, because when you have to be creative, you do have to set boundaries for yourself, but setting the TVMA boundaries, could be an interesting storytelling, but I've never been, there's not too much. Like, if you're just being bloody to be bloody and shit like that, I'm like, I don't care. I'll watch it, but I don't think it's worth, like, I don't think it's worth doing and, like, worth the TVMA or R rating, just for, oh, that makes sense, like, don't make something rated R or TVMA because you want to show a ton of violence and blood and shit like that. Do it for a good storytelling and shit like that, That's my opinion. But after that, they moved to New York, and then Maya is basically a somewhat other daughter to Kingpin, Wilson Fisk. Vincent D'Onofrio is back. Thank God to that. They did say that, like, the Netflix Marvel shows are canon, and I'm about 50-50 on the board confirming that the Marvel Netflix shows are canon. I give it into the sense that the first 2 seasons of Daredevil, let me say it right, are canon, but canon as in, like, those events happened, but they are different from what actually happened in the MCU. That's how I give it. Until we see Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and God forbid Iron Fist. Please not bring back Iron Fist. I mean, I'm not blaming the actor, but the way that it was written was god-awful. So, they say that's canon. I just put the first 2 seasons of Daredevil, and I'm just giving it that. So, confirm. And I know there's other Disney Plus and shit like that, but that's my rule. So, if you don't know what happened at the end of Hawkeye, basically, Ronan, a.k.a. Clint Barton, confronts Maya and says, like, your boss, a.k.a. Kingpin, hired me to kill those guys in my lowest point of existing. And so, it's his fault. And at the end of the Hawkeye series, Maya basically just fucking shoots Kingpin, like, straight on. And, yeah, he lives because we all expected he'd live because we expect him to be another shit, So basically, yeah, it sums up the Hawkeye series, at least, in a way. People think it's over-edited. I'm not, I think it's okay because they decided to put it under the Marvel Spotlight, which, if you don't know, the Marvel Spotlight, why you saw that, I guess, over it, is the reasoning behind it is, hey, guys, you don't need to know anything else. You can watch the show without understanding the rest of Marvel. That's the point we're at, which, in my mind, I think, hey, Marvel, just make movies that do matter because, like, we don't know when we're going to see Moon Knight again. We don't know when we're going to see Shang-Chi again, which I'm assuming is soon because What If really did talk about it in the show. I guess we didn't talk about What If on the show. I don't think we have to. Stuff like that. So they've delved into some projects that don't really matter to the MCU on Phase 4, because technically Phase 4, there's more technically, like, there's more hours of content in Phase 4 than there are in the first 3 Marvel phases combined, And so it's just like, we don't know when we're going to see Moon Knight again. That doesn't really connect to anything. Werewolf by Night clearly doesn't connect to anything. Like, this show also feels like it does not connect to the rest of the MCU, and so I'm really hoping it does, which sounds like it is because it's going to be in Daredevil Born Again, and we all know that if they're going to do a Wilson Fisk Kingpin story, they're going to bring Spider-Man into it. Sony would be dumb to not do a Spider-Man Kingpin story without Vincent D'Onofrio and Tom Holland. Like, they're dumb. Let's get back into the show, though. Daredevil, it's basically Maya's origin story, this episode 1. And, yeah, they showed Daredevil in this episode, and they really advertised this show as, like, hey, Daredevil's a part of this. But if you watched the trailers of this show with Daredevil in it, like, that's pretty much all it is. It's just, like, Fisk is just like, hey, Maya, you did a pretty good job keeping up with him for, my man can't, but you did a good job, That was all Daredevil was, and fucking Charlie Cox is so fucking good. I'm so ready for him. So he was in Spider-Man No Way Home, he was in She-Hulk, and he was in this show. So I'm like, I'm just ready for this shit. So if you didn't watch Hawkeye, you probably wouldn't get a lot of this. But basically, I think the big point of episode 1 is basically understanding that, hey, Wilson Fisk, who was like another father figure to Maya, killed her actual father, and Maya's not really cool about that. So that's basically what happens, and basically she flees to Tamaha, Oklahoma, which Fisk also has like business in or whatever. That's how Maya's dad and Fisk got together or whatever. And it just shows like Fisk is recovering in a hospital. Like we all knew like he didn't die, because I think most people who like the MCU know that usually if someone does not die, you don't see their death on screen, then it's not real. And we all kind of knew that Fisk was coming back, so it's not like that big of a deal. I don't know why Marvel was doing that. On to episode 2, Loak, which is another one of Maya's ancestors. Basically, it starts off with like a flashback. They're playing this game Stickball. I think that's what it says in my notes. It's just called Stickball. And I guess if you know Choctaw or whatever culture, apparently, because apparently, I guess is that instead of just like going to war and killing each other, they would play sports games. And I guess maybe that's that's history in itself, that like we used to play sports instead of going to war with each other. And, maybe we should do that, like if our soccer team's better than yours, you guys need to calm the fuck down. You're sent back to that memory. And I don't think that basically what the series is trying to say is that Maya's powers are from her ancestors, yada, yada, yada. Like, that's basically it. The show is missing. Like, the show was supposed to be 6 episodes, but it was 5, and so I think a lot of that stuff was cut out. But I guess the idea is that Maya's powers and her ability to fight and shit like that comes from her ancestors, and she echoes, we said the title, she echoes their powers, which in the comics, she's basically just like Taskmaster, where she just can just copy someone's fighting abilities and shit like that, which is cooler, but I don't know. Like, it's the MCU. They got to do things a little different, Like, we can't, the MCU can't just be telling the same ass fucking, like, you don't want to just reread, the way comic book movies work is that you don't want basically just a retelling of a comic story. You really generally want like a new telling of it in a new way, but you also want to see like Captain America lifting up Mjolnir, like you want that too. And so it's definitely Marvel's way of making their own original universe in this Marvel multiverse. That's how it is. Episode 2, pretty fucking badass. She goes back to her hometown, and her cousin, I think is the right word, Biscuit, which I thought, like, I heard a good rumor that, like, people who watched episode by episode made theories, is that Biscuit was her cousin that she considered a sister, and shit like that, and she transitioned into Biscuit, that was a good, fun theory, a little too pandering, I think. I don't know, like, I think it's cool to have trans characters and stuff, but, like, I feel like you gotta make it work naturally, I think that's the best way. Like, I feel like why everyone loved Black Panther so much is because it worked naturally. It wasn't Black Panther, the movie, the first one with Chadwick Boseman before he sadly passed away, and now in Wakanda Forever was like an okay movie, and you're like, you gotta like it because they preferred to do it this, and shit like that. But yeah, no, she robs a train, which is the cool fucking scene, which very much this series is like starting off super fucking awesome and then just like getting more and more lame as the show goes on. You're like, oh, it looks like you guys ran out of money. And that's basically what happened with the show. Like, I think this is probably going to be the first thing we watch, as a society that we're like, this was super affected by the writer's strike, And that's what happens. They rob a train, deal with shit or whatever. It destroys Fisk's armor as I'm reading my notes. And then, yeah, it breaks Maya's prosthetic leg. Like, imagine if she had both of her legs and didn't care about that one and it just got fucking crushed or whatever. I'm like, that would have been awful. But, whatever. Henry warns her about the consequences, and Maya remains defiant because I feel like Maya's okay. We didn't actually get to see Maya versus Kingpin. That's something in the show. But Maya's fucking punk rock which is rad. I got this denim jacket, and where's my little Gengar pin? For those of you watching can see it. TJ and Sarah got it for me. Thank you for going to Japan and giving me cool ass Pokemon shit. As you see the Gengar and the Gengar cup that I don't know if it is or isn't machine washable yet because I can't read Japanese and the translation doesn't help on like the iPhone thing. So Henry, I think Henry worked at like the skating rink, which is funny. It was like, make America skate again. And like, I guess people talking about the show are like, oh yeah, skating rinks used to be a bigger thing. Like when I was a kid, skating rinks were the shit. Like the last day of school, we go on a field trip to the skating rink, and me as an adult now realize how stressful it was for the teachers, but whatever. And like we go bowling in the morning, we go to Cece's Pizza, which I don't think it's nationwide. I did find one in Nashville, but Cece's like a pizza buffet, and then it also has an arcade too, which is fucking rad when you're a kid. And then we went to the skating rink, which also had an arcade too. But like that was the last day of school, and it was fucking rad as fuck. I do want to give those teachers credit for like making the last day of school fucking awesome. Yeah, it was a skating rink or whatever and shit like that. Let's go on to episode 3. Tuklo. Oh yeah, it was like an old silent film western is kind of like how you watch this show. And basically I think these stories like of her ancestors were supposed to be more important but didn't end up. But basically it starts off with like her ancestor where basically there was gender norms where it's like men kill people but women don't. And, women are life givers, men are life takers, That was the story, in the show. And it's like, this chick can keep up shooting people like the men can, that was the story. I'm look at my notes. Because after this, like, the show's kind of boring. After the show, like, this show is basically the top of a hill going downhill. Like, that's what the show is. Like, the episodes, like, don't get better. I'm not going to say they're worse, but it's a decline in quality, as I would like to describe it. So there's apparently a betrayal plan. Maya has a vision in the woods before being ambushed. She wakes up being hanging upside down in a bowling alley. That's with Uncle Henry. And it was because Uncle Henry was getting ambushed, and then actual Kingpin's men got involved. And it was like this, what felt like a German guy, like a Nazi German guy. Like we all, like the Germans are like, fuck that shit. We did not like. It is crazy thinking about like Nazi Germany and how like the Germans, their PR to like being like, we're not like that anymore, and we teach our kids that we were wrong. Like it was. They're very much like, that's how Germans are. You meet a German person, they're like, oh, that's not a Nazi. And you're like, yeah, because they put in the work to be like, we're not Nazis. Like when America was like, fuck you guys. You no longer exist. And Germany was like, okay, we're going to be cool again. And then they were cool again. And then just fucking like these 3 random ass people. They had a fat chick with them. I did notice that. And as a fat person myself, I'm allowed to say that. And eventually, Kingpin's actual men's like kill all 3 of them, and then get the call and the ringtone is in a New York minute. That's fucking Kingpin's ringtone for them. Like you're in Oklahoma, you're doing your shady shit, and then all of a sudden your phone rings and you're like, usually I keep it on vibrate, but for Kingpin, he gets New York minute, whatever. And he's like, oh, they have to be alive or some shit like that. Crazy, crazy fucking shit. Episode 4, Taloa. Hope I'm saying that right. So, sorry, I'm not trying to offend anyone. I just don't know how to read. That's when, like, Maya and Wilson Fisk, like, actually meet. And there's, like, it's kind of a weird jump scare because he's just standing there in the alley. And, like, Vincent D'Onofrio as a person is not scary. Like, he seems like a nice guy who is an actor and who has to make his body look like Wilson Fisk. You know, like, he looks like a nice guy. Like, I feel like I could talk to him and just be. He seems like a very nice guy. Unfortunately, though, as Wilson Fisk, he is scary as fuck. And so that was like, oh my god, you seen that guy? And then they like hold Maya down. And you're like, oh my god, Kingpin is gonna remove her eye, and he just puts in like a contact lens, so like he can talk to her and not worry about translations or some shit like that. And yeah, pretty fucking weird. And then, like, Fisk is like, oh, Maya, I want to give you my empire from Vanessa. Or whatever fucking shit. And she's like, no, or whatever. Her ancestral visions or whatever. You know, that's that episode. And then it ends. And then Maya's like, I'm going to conjure the powers of all my dead ancestors and fight you and shit like that. And Kingpin kidnaps her cousin and tries to get her on our side, and then Maya uses her magic powers to be like, hey, Kingpin, fix your trauma. And then his trauma was killing his dad because he was abusive, and he's like, I can't. And then he's like, oh, I guess you can't, you know. And then the show ends, and Maya's chill, but like Kingpin's like, I'm gonna run for mayor, you know, after seeing the TV on his private jet. And I guess that's gonna be the plot to, or part of the plot to, Daredevil Born Again, which I am so fucking excited for. I think this should just be like, this is a reboot of Daredevil, but a lot of it is true to the source, you know, the show or whatever. And that's the show. I don't think I explained that very well, but that was the show. Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, just probably up there with the best Marvel villains. You know, like, who would we put? Doc Ock, whatever the fuck his name is. He's up there, best Marvel villains. Vincent D'Onofrio is definitely up there, like, best Marvel villains. Thanos, Josh Brolin, definitely best Marvel villains. Magneto, Ian McKellen, I think he counts too. You know, it's not just them. I feel like every part of Marvel, you know, has a good villain, and Kingpin is. I'm excited to see where they go with Kingpin because there's so many fucking stories to tell. And, you know, they told a lot of stories in the Daredevil Marvel series, but like I say, I'm only considering kind of the first 2 seasons as canon right now until they prove me wrong. You know, unless they define it in the MCU, it's the part of it's not canon. That's really under my thing. And, you know, I talked about the Marvel Spotlight where it's like, I think Marvel needs to move in a direction where it's like, there's like, these are the main Marvel storylines, these are side stories, yada, 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 you know. I think that's good too. And overall, yeah, I think, should Marvel have released this all in one day? I would say those first 2 episodes could have been, like, a good week to week because we would have been talking about that Daredevil shit for an entire week. But after episode 2, it's like 3, 4, and 5. Like, I don't know. Like, you know, it's that, you know. It's Marvel realizing, like, hey, we cooked, and what we cooked was not good. You know, that's how I consider Phase 4 in this current part of Phase 5. It's just like, Marvel, you know, you gotta let people cook. And sometimes people don't cook good shit, you know? That's life, you know? And I think I want people to be artistic, and I don't want this to discourage people at, like, Marvel from writing good storylines. But, you know, like, Quantum Mania, I liked it up until the ending. I didn't like the idea of, like, Kang died or whatever, you know? Thor Love and Thunder, I thought it was just a little too silly, but, like, I think there was a good story in there. WandaVision was great. I like Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Both seasons of Loki are great. Moon Knight was cool. It's just, like, it doesn't connect to the rest of the MCU. She-Hulk was good because I've read She-Hulk comics and know they're supposed to be a comedy and supposed to be funny. And even if you don't laugh at the jokes like they did the comics justice on She-Hulk, Miss Marvel was a great show. The last episode, they didn't have a good villain, but, good show, and stuff like that. And so I do think this is a good Marvel project. I'm excited to see Kingpin in the future. This wasn't Marvel's best show, but I think it's good because I think Maya Lopez should continue being a character in the Marvel universe and be more of a side character like to Daredevil or any of those other street level heroes, because I think Maya Lopez is definitely a solid hero. And what do I want to say?
Somehow Palpatine returned.
That's not what I wanted to say.
Thank you for watching this clip.